You are tuned in to Radio Gold.
Victor Hugo's Les Misérables is an epic novel of social commentary during a defining era in French history. The novel follows the struggles of the protagonist ex-convict Jean Valjean, who seeks to redeem himself by adopting the little servant girl Cosette. The play covers themes of poverty, law, forgiveness, and human ethics. In 1937, Orson Welles wrote, produced, and directed a 7-part series for radio. Welles himself narrated the story and played the part of Valjean. This ambitious series co-starred Martin Gabel, Alice Frost, Frank Readick, Ray Collins, Agnes Moorehead, and Everett Sloane. Ladies and gentlemen, we proudly present the complete 7-part series of the Orson Welles adaptation for radio of Les Misérables.
As these problems are not solved, so long as ignorance and poverty remain on earth, these words cannot be useless.
These are the words which preface the 5th of 7 broadcasts based on Victor Hugo's great novel, Les Misérables. WOR and the Mutual Network present Orson Welles, distinguished young author, actor, and director, in an adaptation of the book which he has created especially for radio. Each episode portrays some development in the progress of Jean Valjean, a role played by Orson Welles, who is also heard as he reads the narrative passages. Les Misérables, Part 5, the episode which is called The Grave.
Hold! 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 Who goes there?
Police Lieutenant on special duty for Inspector Javert. Any news of Jean Valjean? Have you caught him?
Caught him? We thought we caught him. Just look. Bright moonlight. 24 of us. A whole street full of police. A blind alley and Javert himself. And would you believe it, Lieutenant? He got away.
I'll bet Javert's boiling. Where is he now?
Out in the field with the first squad. Javert swears he'll find him if it takes every policeman in Paris.
He hates that man so much it frightens you.
There's something between those two that's worse than hate. Whatever it was, it happened years ago, when Javert was an inspector in some town in the south, and this Jean Valjean was the mayor.
Valjean, the mayor?
Oh, yes. Made his fortune in business, he did. And still has the money somewhere, hidden away. He called himself Monsieur Madeleine in those days. But you can't Javert. Javert found him to the galley ship.
The double chain. Valjean, get out of that.
I mark you, Lieutenant. This time...
Yes. Javert.
Yes. Criminal woman Jean Valjean, when he was mayor.
But where did they go? Look about for know what's beyond those walls.
Oh, what does a man could climb those things are not understood. There's an end to it. And if I know Jean, he won't be.
If I go on hunting him.
Trapped in a closed street, pursued and surrounded, but Jean Valjean had escaped. Javert had found him out in his hiding place and chased him that night across the city of Paris till he came to this blind alley. A squad of police, a lone man, and a little child. Where was this Jean Valjean? No living man could climb those walls. But there are things to be learned in 19 years' service in the galleys. And Jean Valjean had learned in those years the dark sciences of the impossible. Pulling Cosette up after him, he had climbed one of those walls. He found himself in a garden, a wild and solitary place, black in the shadow of an enormous and shuttered building. What was this house? Wrapped snugly in his greatcoat, Cosette, the little child, soon fell asleep. And Jean Valjean, watching over her, knew that night that so long as this child should be alive, he should need nothing except for her, and fear nothing save on her account. He heard a strange noise, a sound like a bell shaking on the neck of a beast. There was something in the garden, something limping in the darkness, and like a man. To the outcast, all things are hostile, and all things are suspicious. He distrusts the day because it helps to discover him, and the night because it helps to surprise him. Jean Valjean shuddered because the garden was empty. Now he shuddered because someone was there. There was no hiding in that garden.
What is it? Oh, you frightened me. Who are you?
100 francs if you'll hide me.
Oh, God help us. Monsieur Madeleine.
What?
Monsieur, how did you get here? How? Did you fall from the sky?
Who are you?
Don't you remember old Fauchelevent? You once saved my life.
Fauchelevent?
6 years ago, monsieur, you lifted my great wagon from the mud. I was caught there. I would have been crushed, Monsieur Madeleine.
Yes. Fauchelevent, the winner. And you remember only Monsieur Madeleine, the mayor of Montreux.
Yes. And what is the mayor doing here?
Fauchelevent, I'm in trouble. You must hide me.
Oh, not here, monsieur. No man is allowed here.
No one will know.
Oh, Monsieur Madeleine, you have arrived at a very good time. I should say very bad. There is one of the sayings.
Oh, Father, I'm frightened.
Cosette, little one, go back to sleep. There's nothing to be afraid of.
Monsieur, why do you wear that bell on your knee?
They put it on me, my child, so they know when I'm coming.
Fauchelevent, what is this place?
Oh, don't you know, Monsieur Madeleine? You sent me here. It was your recommendation that got me the job as gardener, monsieur. It's a convent.
A convent?
Yes, monsieur, the convent of the Perpetual Adoration, and a young ladies' school. But how did you get here?
Old friend, let it go that I fell from the sky.
Well, I believe it, monsieur. You don't need to tell me. I believe it. God must have taken you into his own hand to have a close look at you and then put you down. Only he meant to put you in a monastery, and he made a mistake. Listen. The nun is dead.
Oh, Father.
Shush. Cosette. What is that bell?
It is the death knell, monsieur. That bell will strike every minute for 24 hours until the body goes out of the church. You hear it? It's like I told you, a stroke every minute. It is the rule of the convent.
Fauchelevent, what do you do here?
I am the gardener, monsieur.
A gardener? Of course. Fauchelevent, I'm in danger.
Oh.
Will you save my...
Job, Monsieur Madeleine?
Get Monsieur Madeleine. Have a job. I must stay here. See me. Don't save us.
Little girl.
Into the school. Me as your brother.
The Reverend Mother might, but there is one thing. You see, Monsieur. The mother got into the garden, and monsieur, I won't. You can't enter the convent from here, monsieur, from the street.
No.
No other way, and here's the difficulty. The porter, not me, unlocks the gates. In order for you to come in, it is necessary that you should get out. For me, you have fallen from heaven because I know you. But for the nuns, you must come in at the door.
I see.
For the child, it would be easy. I have my door, which opens to the court. I knock, the porter opens. I have my basket on my back. The little girl is inside. I go out. It's all very simple, monsieur. Very simple, Monsieur Madeleine, except for you.
Well, can't you smuggle me out some way? Like Cosette? Undercover?
It's not possible, monsieur. Oh! There's the bell. It's for me. It's the Reverend Mother. She wants to see me. I wonder why. Monsieur Madeleine, don't stir from this shed. It's worth your life. I'm coming. Wait a moment. I'm coming. Reverend Mother, you sent for me? Reverend Mother?
At 8:45 in the morning, and at all hours, praise and adoration to the most holy sacrament of the altar. Monsieur Fauchelevent, I have called you.
I am here, Reverend Mother.
I wish to speak to you.
And for my part, I have nothing to say to the Most Reverend Mother, but something.
You have a communication you wish to make to me.
Reverend Mother, I am not young.
No, monsieur?
No, Reverend Mother. And I have also a brother who is not young.
Indeed, monsieur.
Not young. And not old. An excellent gardener, honest and respectable, and the father of a little girl who would be reared under God in this house and may someday be a nun.
Monsieur Fauchelevent, can you, between now and night, procure an iron bar?
For what work?
To be used as a lever.
Oh, yes, Reverend Mother, and may I say further that I have served here in the convent too long with this bell on my knee not to have an excellent brother.
Monsieur Fauchelevent, we have confidence in you. You know that a mother died here this morning.
Yes, Reverend Mother, amen.
It is Mother Crucifixion, one of the blessed.
Yes, Reverend Mother, and now she's dead.
At 9 o'clock in the morning, and at all hours, praise and adoration to the most holy sacrament of the altar.
Amen.
Mother Crucifixion will be buried in the coffin in which she slept for 20 years.
Yes, I will nail her up then, and we'll put aside the undertaker's coffin.
The 4 Mother choristers will help you.
What, to nail up the coffin? I don't need them.
No, to let it down.
Where?
Under the altar.
Oh, the vault under the altar?
We must obey the dead. To be buried in the vault under the altar of the chapel, not go into ground, to remain in death where she prayed in life. That was the last request of Mother Fiction. She asked for it.
But it's forbidden.
Forbidden by men, and joined by God.
If it should come to be known.
We have confidence in you.
But Reverend Mother is the agent of the Health Commission.
God subordinated to the commissary of police. Such is the case. Is it settled?
It is settled, but I limp. I need help.
To limp is not a crime, and it may be a blessing. Monsieur Fauchelevent, side with you. Tomorrow, bring your and his daughter all with her to the school. In the morning and at all hours, adoration to the most altar.
So you see, that's the only coffin. From the administration, you see, as the municipality physician, there is a nun and a coffin, and the next day a hearse cemetery. The bearers will come nothing in the coffin.
Put something in it.
A dead body? I have none.
Put me in the coffin.
Yeah. Oh, Monsieur Madeleine, put you in the coffin.
I've got to get out of here, and I mustn't be seen.
But, Monsieur, it's impossible. Suppose you should sneeze.
Fauchelevent, I must decide now, either to be taken here or to go out in that hearse. There's only one thing that worries me. What will be done at the cemetery?
Oh, I can handle the grave digger. He's a drunkard and a very close friend of mine by the name of Mestienne. If he's not drunk tomorrow, I'll make him drunk and do his work for him. And when he goes away, I'll pull you out of the hole. That's simple.
Then it's settled. All goes well. I get out of my coffin, and you get me out of my grave. Buried alive. Jean Valjean had arranged his coffin so he could live in it and breathe. A very little. He was calm. He counted on that drunken gravedigger, old Fauchelevent's friend, the gravedigger Mestienne. The plans were perfect. They would take him in the coffin to the priests would read. Then Fauchelevent. Then Fauchelevent would return, and he would enter the result. Before exhaled a kind. It was as if something of the Jean Valjean. He felt himself thrown into the hearse. But driven from the battering boulevards out to the grave were thin. And Jean Valjean, lying there, could hear clearly what was spoken above him.
Pull up! Pull up! Rein in, driver, let me on.
Who are you?
I'm the grave digger.
The grave digger? You?
The grave digger, me, let me on.
The grave digger is Father Mestienne.
The grave digger was Mestienne. He is dead. I am the grave digger.
I tell you, the grave digger is Father Mestienne.
After Napoleon, Louis XVIII. After Mestienne, Gribier. Peasant, my name is Gribier.
Oh, so Mestienne is dead, is he? Oh, let's go have a drink.
I never drink.
Comrade, I am the grave digger of the convent.
My colleague, I salute you.
Let's have a drink.
I have studied. I have graduated. I never drink.
Comrade Gravedigger, we must make each other's acquaintance.
It is made. You are a peasant. I am a Parisian.
Yes, I don't think you know, my comrade, how important it is that we know each other very well. Oh, very well indeed, comrade. Over a glass of something strong.
I have told you, peasant, I never...
Please, gravedigger.
I ought not to be a graver. I was in the literature. Indeed, peasant, I am still a public scribe.
Then you are not the gravedigger?
One does not prevent the other, peasant. I cumulate.
Good. Let's have a drink.
Let's have a drink. Let's have a drink. Ding, dong, liquor, liquor. Have you no other topic of conversation? I'm a superior man, peasant. By day, I am a letter writer. I am the scribe of our most prominent bakers and cooks. In the morning, I write love letters.
One little good strong.
Whoa! Here's the good priest to the performance of the last rites. Oh, fresh gray. Hand with the top.
Every word play what was spoken above it.
Evitali in vita probrium ut le profundis requienae domina tua lucat in arte.
Above his head, over his face, it was earth. Earth from a spade. 4 inches from his face. They were burying him. It stopped up the air holes. He couldn't breathe.
I sent him away. I stole his gravedigger's card and sent him home after it. You're safe. I fooled that Grivier, Monsieur Manley. Monsieur Manley? Monsieur Manley! Victim! Why don't you ask me? What's wrong with you, Monsieur Manley? I'll get you out of that. Monsieur Manley! Monsieur Manley! Monsieur Manley! Are you alive? Monsieur Manley! He's dead! He's dead. He's suffocated. Monsieur Manley! Ooh, what shall I do? What shall I do? This little girl, what shall I do with her? Oh, Monsieur Madeleine, the best man that God ever made, Monsieur Madeleine. Monsieur Madeleine, Your Honor. Monsieur Madeleine? He doesn't hear me. He's dead. Ah! Don't open your eyes! Whoa! I can't stand it! Don't open your eyes at me!
Fauchelevent, what's wrong with you?
Oh. Aren't you dead? I thought you were dead.
So did I.
Don't open your eyes at me if you're dead. I can't stand it.
Fauchelevent.
Out of the clouds and up from the dead. I can't stand it.
Dear old friend.
Just a minute. I'll be myself again. Did you faint, monsieur? Can you breathe again?
Dear old friend, we must go get Cosette and take her to the convent.
Fauchelevent. Just give me time. I'm old, but I'll get used to it. You can get used to anything, but oh, my God. Out of the sky and the grave in the same day. Down from the cloud and up from the dead. Oh, my God, I can't stand it. I can't stand it.
Javert, the inspector of police, watched the street where the convict, Jean Valjean, had disappeared. A hearse came out of the convent and passed Javert on its way to the cemetery. An old gardener came out of the convent and passed Javert carrying a covered basket. This gardener returned to the convent with another old man and a little child. He passed Javert in a carriage. For 3 months, Inspector Javert watched that street, and then he went away. In the convent, all was peace. The community was grateful for the services of its gardener. His niece was admitted to the school, and his brother was given a post as his assistant. So all went well for Jean Valjean. The years passed by. Cosette growing up in the school. Jean Valjean close to her in the convent garden and watching her as she grew.
Ad astra per aspera.
And so she grew.
Non eget Marius, Iaculis nec arcu nec venenatis, gravidas agidus, usque veretra.
When Cosette was 14, Jean Valjean withdrew her from the convent school. He took a little house for her in the outskirts of the city, and they lived there together, very quietly. Perhaps the police had forgotten Jean Valjean. Perhaps Javert had stopped watching.
You have an interesting story, monsieur. Now, what is your name again? This is simply for the record.
Marius. Marius Pontmercy.
Age?
20.
Occupation?
I'm a student.
When did you meet this girl, Cosette? And why have you come here to the police?
I saw her first 3 years ago in the Luxembourg. She used to walk there with the old gentleman, her guardian. And I've come to you because she's disappeared.
Is the house empty where this couple lived?
Deserted.
You've searched for them and inquired after them diligently, and their whereabouts are unknown. What do you suspect?
Well, I don't know. The old gentleman was eccentric.
Explain yourself.
Well, he kept strangely to himself. He never left the house except at nightfall. It was almost as though, well, as though he were hiding from someone.
And the girl, Cosette?
She is quiet, monsieur, but very beautiful.
I see. When you last saw this Cosette, did she speak to you of anything untoward? Can you remember any circumstance which struck you as peculiar?
Yes, monsieur. The old gentleman seemed frightened.
Frightened of what?
Well, I can't explain it, monsieur. There was a man Cosette had seen, or thought she'd seen, standing on the edge of the garden. The old gentleman seemed to be frightened of that man.
Did you see this man?
I don't know. I saw a shadow. If it was a man, he was big like yourself, monsieur. And I don't know how he got there or how he moved so quietly. Cosette said that he wore a long gray coat and a flat hat and carried a stick. I remember her telling Monsieur Fauchelevent.
Is that what he calls himself?
What did you say, monsieur?
Nothing. How long afterward did they disappear?
Why, they must have left that night, monsieur, when I'd gone home. It's 5 weeks now since I've seen her.
Monsieur Marius, don't trouble yourself any further. And I will look very carefully for that man if you here at headquarters.
And the Mutual 5 of Victor Hugo. The episode which was saved. Actor and director Valjean. Assisting as Javert, Will Johnstone as Marius, Peggy Allenby, Virginia Wells, Estelle Levy, Hiram Sherman, and Everett Sloane. Next Friday evening at 9:30 o'clock, Eastern Daylight Saving Time, we shall present Les Misérables in its 6th phase, the episode which is called The Barricade.
let's take a short intermission. The Best of Dimension X from Radio Gold. Dimension X was the first sci-fi anthology series to utilize published stories from established science fiction authors, which gave the series an instant status of credibility to hardcore fans. Stay tuned for the penultimate episode of Orson Welles' Les Misérables.
So long as these problems are not solved, so long as ignorance and poverty remain on earth, these words cannot be useless.
These are the words which preface the 6th of 7 broadcasts based on Victor Hugo's great novel, Les Misérables. WOR and the Mutual Network present Orson Welles, distinguished young author, actor, and director, in an adaptation of the book which he has created especially for radio. Each episode portrays some development in the progress of Jean Valjean, a role played by Orson Welles, who is also heard as he reads the narrative passages. Les Misérables.
The story of Jean Valjean and Inspector Javert. The episode which is called The Barricade.
Official order, delivered under seal, March 9th, 1821. Inspector Javert will seize the body of Monsieur Madeleine, the mayor of Montreux, who has identified himself this day in court as the discharged convict, Jean Valjean. Six times from the galleys, twice from the double chain, and twice from under my grasp. Last night he escaped from me. We had him, my men and I, and he gave us the slip. Then we had him again. We hunted him through the city. His flight was embarrassed by the child Cosette, whom he carried in his arms. We were on every side of him. The walls were too high to climb. He was surrounded. He was trapped in a closed and guarded street. And he disappeared. Jean Valjean has escaped. 1832. Sedition, mutiny, rebellion. These are dangerous times. Never before has the vandalism and the lawlessness of the mob had such reign. The very government is in peril, and there are whispers of another revolution in France. We of the police are wakeful and vigilant. Here in Paris, the riotings of the people, led by some party of young fanatics, has grown to downright insurrection. And I have today intelligence of a barricade to be erected in a certain section of the city. True or no, this rumor is worthy of attention, and I'm going there in disguise to mingle with the revolutionaries. Today, June 6th, is the anniversary of Jean Valjean's escape. It's the date of my failure as a police officer. 30 years now I've been in this service. All this time I've devoted to police duty the strictest honesty and watchfulness and discipline. I've given it my mind, my heart, and my hope. I've made it my whole life. But so long as this man, Valjean, remains alive and free in the world, my purpose is thwarted. My honor is a joke. For this Jean Valjean has become a principle in the order of my code. He is all that must be checked. He is crime. Worse than that, he is license. It's 12 years since I've seen him. I shall see him again. I shall know him when I see him, and he shall not escape. Once Valjean forgave me, I shall not forgive him.
Cosette! Cosette, is something wrong? Cosette!
Yes?
May I come in?
Yes, Father.
My little one, you haven't stirred from your room this whole day. Now tell me something. What's on that pretty cheek?
I don't know.
Well, I do. It's a tear, and it has no business there. You've been weeping a great deal. Tell me, what for?
For him.
What's his name?
Marius. Marius Pontmercy.
Tell me about him.
We met at the Luxembourg. He's going to be killed. Father, why have they made that barricade?
For protection, my child. It's
It's a kind of fort for the revolutionaries.
Marius is at the barricade.
How do you know?
He was a rebel. He'd pledged himself to the insurrection. He told me that.
When did you see him last?
I haven't seen him at all for 2 months. We used to meet in the garden of the old house, and I was afraid to tell you.
He may not be at the barricade.
I got this letter. It came this morning.
Let me see, little one. To Mademoiselle Cosette Fauchelevent, Monsieur Fauchelevent's Rue Lame, number 7. Our marriage was impossible. I have asked my grandfather. He has refused. I am without fortune, and you also. You know the promise that I gave you. I keep it. I die. I love you. When you read this, my soul will be near you. Marius.
They say that the soldiers from the government have brought cannon and aimed them at the barricade. That will end it. All day I've sat here, listening. When I hear the first cannon, I'll know surely that he's dead.
You there on the barricade, do you wish to speak to us? Surrender quietly and spare your prisoner, and we'll give you fair trial. It is you who are on trial. Give up your prisoner, the police inspector. What are your terms? Our prisoner is not a hostage. He is a spy, a policeman who masqueraded as one of us. He will be executed before the last of us. We have no terms. Down the discharge!
Take command here. I'll hold the north barricade. You, comrade. Yes, Marius. Go behind the tavern wall. Our prisoner, the police spy, is tied back there to a table. Shoot him. Yes, Marius. Goodbye. Goodbye, Marius.
Goodbye, Marius. That's a brave man, comrade. Yes, that's a brave man. He has no fear of death. It's almost as though he were in love with her. There's one whom Marius loves more than death.
He must be safe for her.
Indeed? Who are you?
I am her father.
Father of Cosette?
What are you doing here? How did you get into the barricade?
No matter. I've come to save your comrade. He must not know that I'm here.
Down the discharge!
Monsieur.
Yes?
Will you hold this position for me? I have orders from Marius. I must go execute the spy.
Who is the spy?
A police inspector who impersonated a revolutionary and was caught here on the barricade. I am to shoot him.
A police inspector?
Yes, monsieur. His name is Javert.
Let me shoot him.
What, monsieur?
Let me shoot him. You hold the post.
Very well, if you wish it.
I wish it. Where is he? Where is Javert?
Around the corner of the street, monsieur. Tied up behind the wall.
Down the discharge!
Jean Valjean.
Javert.
I might have expected this. To find you here amongst vandals and insurrectionists. Amongst cutthroats and destroyers of public property. God, this is as it should be. Well, hurry up. I'm tied. You've got a gun. Justice is chained and the convict is free. Go on, Jean Valjean. You've got a gun. Why did you do that? Why did you do that? Jean Valjean, why did you fire that gun in the air?
Have you got a knife?
I knew it. Assassin.
Where is your knife?
In the side pocket of my coat. Assassin. Knifer. I knew you'd use a knife. You're cutting my ropes. Why are you doing this? Well, I'm unarmed. Take your revenge.
You may go.
What do you mean?
The back streets are open. You're known to the army. They'll recognize you and you'll be safe. There's none here but us.
You fool. Let me go and I'll get you. You know that. Alive or dead, I'll get you.
I don't expect to leave this place. But if I should, you could find me under the name of Fauchelevent in the Rue de l'Armée, number 7.
Fauchelevent. Rue de l'Armée. Why don't you kill me?
Number 7.
Number 7. I'll come for you.
I'll be waiting. It is the story of the barricades. That it fell at this moment. Everywhere was the terrible confusion of death and defeat. Jean Valjean found Marius unconscious, horribly wounded, covered with blood, but still breathing. He threw the boy on his shoulder and ran to the far end of the street. But for the silent dead of the insurrection, this place was deserted. Here was peace, but no safety. Here was silence and no exit. Here were no walls to climb, no passageways, no alleys. Here was a momentary island in the midst of the armies of France. 12 years before, Jean Valjean had been hunted down and trapped in a closed street. The child Cosette was in his arms. Now he carried her lover. He had looked up that night and seen the rope of a street lamp and found safety. Now he looked down and found there at his feet an iron door in the pavements. With Javert's own knife, he pried open the grating. In another instant, he lowered Marius and himself through this opening and was under the streets. Jean Valjean was in the sewers. Paris has another Paris under herself. A Paris of sewers which has its streets, its squares, its blind alleys, and its circulation, which is slime. The sewer is the conscience of the city. In this lurid place there is darkness, but there are no secrets. Underneath these vaults we breathe the enormous fetidness of social catastrophe. We see reddish reflections on the corners. There flows a terrible water in which bloody hands have been washed. It was in the sewer of Paris that Jean Valjean found himself. In a moment, he had passed from broad day to obscurity, from noon into midnight. His first sensation was blindness. He reached out his hand and touched the wall, and realized that the passage was narrow. He slipped in the water. A whip of fetidness informed him where he was. The frenzied storm of murder which was raging a few feet above him reached him as a stifled and indistinct rumbling. Then suddenly, Jean Valjean had reached an angle of the sewer, and he saw before him at the extremity of the passage a light. It was a good and white light. It was day. He saw the outlet. He felt exhaustion no more. He felt Marius's weight no longer. He ran rather than walked. He reached the outlet. There he stopped. The arch was closed by a grating. A grating held in a stone frame by a stout lock. The grating did not stir. Its lock held fast. And suddenly Jean Valjean knew that a man was there, standing beside him, waist deep in the water. A man standing in the darkness.
I've been waiting for you.
It was Javert.
You got here sooner than I expected.
Inspector Javert?
Yes, Jean Valjean.
Grant me one favor. This boy is dying. Before you take me to prison, help me to carry him to his home.
There's a carriage waiting on the beach.
You are silent, Javert. I should think you would be happy. I must thank you for helping me to take that wounded boy to his family. They will be grateful to you. Javert.
Yes?
I'm going to ask you something more. Something I know you won't permit. Cosette. I've been with her all these years. She's very dear to me. May I say goodbye to her?
Driver. The Rue de l'Armée. Number 7. Well, here's your home. Go up and see her. What are you waiting for?
I'm waiting for you.
I'll be here, below in the street.
Then you trust me?
I'll wait in the street.
Jean Valjean ran up the stairway to Cosette's little room. He stopped at the landing and looked back through the window. He was bewildered by what he did not see. There was nobody in the street. Javert was gone. What was the story of Javert? Javert made his way with slow steps from the Rue de l'Armée. He plunged into the silent streets. Still he followed one direction. He took the shortest route toward the Seine. There had been a new thing, a revolution, a catastrophe in the depths of his being. One thing had astonished him, that Jean Valjean had spared him. And one thing had petrified him, that he, Javert, had spared Jean Valjean. Where was he? He sought himself and found himself no longer. Destiny has certain extremities precipitous upon the impossible, and beyond which life is no more than an abyss. Javert was at one of these extremities. Jean Valjean confounded him. All the axioms which had been the support of his whole life crumbled away before this man. A beneficent malefactor, a compassionate convict, kind, helpful, clement, returning good for evil, returning pardon for hatred, loving pity rather than vengeance, preferring to destroy himself rather than to destroy his enemy, saving him who had stricken him, kneeling upon the height of virtue, nearer the angels than men. Javert was compelled to acknowledge that this monster existed. An entire new world appeared to his soul. He perceived in the darkness the fearful rising of an unknown moral sun. Truths which he had no wish for besieged him. He saw what he had revolted at seeing. He felt that he was emptied, useless, broken off from his past life, destitute. Authority was dead in him. He had no further reason for existence. There was only two ways to get out of it. One, to go resolutely to Jean Valjean and return the man of the galleys to the dungeon. The other, Javert made his way with a firm step toward the post indicated by a lamp at one of the corners of the Place du Châtelet. On reaching it, he entered. There was a policeman there. Javert gave his name, showed his card to the sergeant, and sat down at the table of the post on which a candle was burning. There was a pen on the table, a leaden inkstand, and some paper in readiness for chance reports and the orders of the night patrol. Javert took the pen and a sheet of paper and began to write. This is what he wrote.
From the notebook of Inspector Javert, some observations for the benefit of the service. First, I beg Monsieur le Préfet to glance at this. Second, the prisoners, on their return from examination, take off their shoes and remain barefooted upon the pavement while they are searched. Many cough on returning to the prison. This involves hospital expenses. Third, it is difficult to explain why the special regulation of the prison forbids a prisoner to have a chair, even on paying for it. Fourth, the prisoners called barkers, who call the other prisoners to the parlor, make the prisoner pay them 2 sous for calling his name distinctly. This is a theft. Fifth, for a dropped thread, they retain 10 sous from the prisoner in the weaving shop. This is an abuse on the part of the contractor, since the cloth is just as good. Sixth, it is certain that gendarmes are every day heard relating the examinations of those brought before the magistrates. For a gendarme who should hold such things sacred, to repeat what he has heard in the examining chamber is a serious disorder. Javert, Inspector of the First Class. June 7th, 1832, about 1 o'clock in the morning.
Javert dried the fresh ink on this paper, folded it very carefully, like a letter, sealed it, wrote on the back a note for the administration, left it on the table, and went slowly out of the post. The glazed and grated door closed behind him. He crossed the Place du Châtelet and gained the quay. Here was darkness. Darkness complete. It was that sepulchral and terrible moment which follows midnight. Javert was standing exactly over the rapids of the Seine, perpendicularly over that formidable whirlpool which knots and unknots itself like an endless screw. Javert bent his head and looked. All was black. What was beneath was not water. It was chasm. The wall of the quay, abrupt, confused, mingled with vapor, suddenly lost to sight, seemed to him like an escarpment of the infinite. Javert, Inspector of Police, 30 years in the service of France, stood there on that promontory of the darkness and looked into the end of the night. He saw nothing, but he perceived the hostile chill of the water and the insipid odor of the moist stones. A fierce breath rose up from that abyss. The swollen river guessed at rather than perceived the tragical whispering of the flood, the dismal vastness of the arches of the bridge, the imaginable fall into that gloomy void. All that shadow was full of horror. Javert remained for some minutes motionless on that pinnacle in the middle of the midnight, gazing into that opening of darkness. Then suddenly, without a sound, no expression on that great, bearded, beastly face, he took off his hat and laid it on the edge of the quay. A moment afterwards, a tall black form appeared standing on the parapet, bent toward the Seine, then sprang up and fell straight into the darkness. It is the last that was ever seen of Inspector Javert.
WOR and the Mutual Network have brought you Part 6 of Victor Hugo's absorbing masterpiece, Les Misérables, the episode which was called The Barricade. Orson Welles, distinguished young author, actor, and director, played the role of Jean Valjean and was also heard reading the narrative passages. Assisting Mr. Welles were Martin Gabel as Javert, William Johnstone as Marius, Virginia Wells as Cosette, Ray Collins, Hiram Sherman, and others. Next Friday evening at 9:30 o'clock Eastern Daylight Saving Time, we shall present the 7th and final episode of Les Misérables.
This is the Coast to Coast Network of the Mutual Broadcasting System.
Let's take a short intermission. Nero Wolfe made his larger-than-life radio show debut on July 5, 1943. This intelligent detective show, based on the Rex Stout novels, proved to be a natural for classic radio. Throughout the show's run, Santos Ortega, Louis Van Rooten, Francis X. Bushman, and Sidney Greenstreet all filled the voluminous chair of Nero Wolfe. As well, a large assortment of actors played the part of every blonde's hero, Archie Goodwin. The Adventures of Nero Wolfe show remained popular on the airwaves in different versions for 8 years, from 1943 to 1951. Stay tuned for the final episode and conclusion of Orson Welles' Les Misérables.
These problems are not solved so long as ignorance and poverty remain on earth. These words cannot be useless.
These are the words which preface the seventh and final broadcast based on Victor Hugo's great novel, Les Misérables. WOR and the Mutual Network present Orson Welles, distinguished young author, actor, and director, in an adaptation of the book which he has created especially for radio. Each episode portrays some development in the progress of Jean Valjean, a role played by Orson Welles, who is also heard as he reads the narrative passages. Part 7, the final episode of Les Misérables.
In Paris, on the 16th of February, 1833, there was celebrated the marriage of Cosette Fauchelevent to Marius Pontmercy. The date of the wedding was Mardi Gras, and the ceremonies were held in a city gay with flowers and merrymaking. The bride's father, Monsieur Fauchelevent, having suffered a severe accident to his arm, was not present.
Father, how good to see you. We missed you yesterday, but you've really come too early. Cosette is still asleep. But I can tell you the news. You are to come and live with us. It has all been decided. You are part of our happiness, Father. Cosette and I insist you share it with us.
Monsieur.
Is anything wrong? Is your arm still troubling you?
There is nothing wrong with my arm.
Is it wise for you to take the bandage off so soon?
There has never been anything wrong with it. You can see for yourself.
But yesterday you didn't come to our wedding. It was because you hurt your hand.
It was the best that I should be absent from your marriage.
Your pardon, Father. I don't know what you're talking about.
Marius, I'm a convict. I've been in the galleys.
The galleys? You? Cosette's father?
Before God, I am not the father of Cosette. I am a peasant of Faverolles, and my name is not Fauchelevent. It is Jean Valjean. That is true, monsieur.
I believe you.
Cosette is very dear to me, but... Well, 10 years, I didn't know Cosette existed 10 years ago. I am, after all, a passerby in her life. And today, our roads separate. She is now Madame Pontmercy. I can do nothing for her. I leave her to your care, monsieur.
But you could have kept your secret. No one would have known.
Perhaps not, monsieur. But I shall always know. You think I might have been happy with you. Have I the right to be happy? Suppose I remain, Monsieur Fauchelevent. I come to stay with you. We are together. And some fine day, while we're laughing and chatting, you hear a voice shout, Jean Valjean, and the police spring out of the shadow and tear off my mask. What then?
Father, dearest, I've missed you so.
Cosette,
Father.
We're talking of business.
Father, you're pale. Does your arm hurt you?
It is well.
What is it then? Are you sad?
No.
Then kiss me. That's better. Now I shall stay.
Cosette, darling, we have something to finish.
You still want me to go? Very well, I shall. But don't be long, please.
Poor Cosette.
You must not tell her about me. I entreat you, monsieur. Cosette doesn't know what this world is. The world of the convict and the galleys. Promise me that she shall never know.
I will keep your secret.
Thank you, monsieur. It is all nearly finished. There is one thing left.
What?
You think, monsieur, you think I should not see Cosette again?
I think it would be for the best.
Yes. Yes. Very well, monsieur. I shall not see her again.
Jean Valjean was a convict. But the bridegroom, Marius, did not know the story of his crimes. There are many crimes, and hunger was one of these in the year of our Lord, 1796.
Jean Valjean, before you are sentenced, have you nothing to say to this court?
I was hungry, that's all, Excellency. My name is Jean Valjean. My sister's hungry, too. She and her little ones. We live at Faverolles, Excellency. I'm a pruner. In the season, I earn 18 sous a day, and that's all. It's very hard, Excellency, and they're all hungry, Excellency. Much more hungry than me.
Prisoner, this court finds, proven finally against you, the crime for which you are on trial, namely the burglary of a loaf of bread.
Excellency, what does that mean?
It means you're a thief. Guilty. 5 years in the galleys.
The galleys. 5 years at the oar of a prison ship. 5 years for his first offense.
Jean Valjean, thief.
Guilty.
Attempted escape.
Guilty.
Prisoner, sentence extended.
3 years. Jean Valjean, thief.
Guilty.
Escape in the second attempt.
Guilty.
Prisoner, sentence extended.
3 years. Jean Valjean, thief.
Guilty.
Escape in the third attempt.
Guilty.
Prisoner, sentence extended.
3 years. Jean Valjean, thief.
Guilty.
Escape in the first, second, and third attempts.
Guilty.
Escape in the fourth attempt and resistance.
Guilty.
Prisoner, sentence extended in the double chain.
5 years. Jean Valjean, your term has expired. Here is your passport.
Give it to me. I can read. I've learned to read. Let me look at it. The bearer is a liberated convict, having been 19 years in the galleys for stealing a loaf of bread. Original sentence, 5 years. Additional servitude, 14 years. The holder of this passport is a very dangerous man. Excellency, what does that mean?
It means you're free.
What had been the life of this soul? In weariness, in agony, under the whip, under the chain, in the cell, on the convict's bed of plank, under the burning sun of the galleys, Jean Valjean turned to his conscience and reflected. Human society had done him nothing but injury. He had no weapon but his hate. He had resolved to sharpen it in the galleys, and he had taken it with him when he went out. So the passport was right. The yellow passport, which described Jean Valjean as a very dangerous man. It was right that October night in 1815. Come in. Come in, monsieur. Shut the door.
Listen to me. Listen to me. I'm a convict. You hear that? 4 days ago, they let me out. I've walked all the way from Toulon. I've been 19 years in the galleys. Look, I have money. I'll pay you.
Sit down, monsieur. Make yourself comfortable.
Wait. Did you hear what I said? I said I was a convict. What is this place? It's not an inn. Is this your house?
No, this is not my house. It is the house of Christ.
What are you? A priest? Aren't you afraid of me?
No, monsieur. Aren't you afraid of me? 1815. Another crime of Jean Valjean's, of which Marius knew nothing. A crime committed that October night 18 years before, in the house of the Bishop of D. It was the bishop himself who opened the door that night to the convict, Jean Valjean. He made a place for him at his table and gave him a bed in his best chamber. The first bed Jean Valjean had slept in for 19 years. And Jean Valjean lay in his bed, sleepless, all through that long October night. He had many thoughts. He thought first of the goodness of the Bishop of D, and then thought of his silver. The bishop's silver. 6 silver plates. He had seen them at dinner. 200 francs worth of silver. Double his pay for 19 years' labor in the chains. It is true that he stole them. It is true that Jean Valjean stole the plates from the Bishop of D. It is true that he sold these plates for 200 francs, and that he used this money to make himself rich. Under the name of Madeleine in the district of Montreux, he set up a workshop for the manufacture of synthetic jet. He prospered. He built a great factory. He became mayor of the city. It is true that Jean Valjean did this with the 6 silver plates he stole that night from the Bishop of D. It is true also that Jean Valjean was never convicted of this crime.
Yes, monsieur.
We are the police, Monseigneur.
Please, officer.
Silence, prisoner. Monseigneur, this man has been apprehended on the highway in the criminal possession of your plate. Monseigneur, that is an...
Yes, but where are my candlesticks?
It's, Monseigneur. Were there candlesticks?
They are of silver, like where are my candlesticks? Monsieur understood.
What? Monseigneur, the prisoner was running off.
And you, an old priest with whom he had lodged him here.
Yes, Monseigneur. Told me.
But
they can let him...
But it... the plates and the chicken. Promised me use this...
I promised you.
Jean Valjean, I have purchased your soul. I withdraw it from the spirit of perversity, and I give it to Almighty God.
Jean Valjean ran out of the city and made haste into the open country. A little gypsy boy passed by him and dropped a penny. Jean Valjean put his foot on the penny and ran after the boy. But he never found him. Another crime. He knew then that he must either conquer or be conquered. It was after this that Jean Valjean, the poor farmer, who became a galley slave, established himself in Montreux as Monsieur Madeleine, the owner of a great factory and a public official. So Jean Valjean was sentenced forever to a new life. And a miracle was worked in his soul by the Bishop of D. Marius knew the father of his bride, Monsieur Fauchelevent, and it came to be that he found out the convict, Jean Valjean. But Marius never heard of the wealthy manufacturer, Monsieur Madeleine, the inventor of a process for the manufacture of imitation jet, the public benefactor, the mayor of Montreux, who, like Fauchelevent, was Jean Valjean. In 1823, this Madeleine was a quiet, hopeful man with but 2 thoughts in his heart: to conceal his name and to sanctify his life, to escape from men and to return to God. But even in 1823, Jean Valjean was wanted by the police. And there came a dark day in that year when they thought they had him. Certainly a man who looked like Jean Valjean was arrested and accused of Jean Valjean's crime, the theft of a penny. And certainly Jean Valjean, known as Madeleine, attended this man's trial.
Monsieur Madeleine.
Your Honor, the judge.
Your note was sent in to me, monsieur. Permit me to say that your presence in this court is an unexpected compliment.
Thank you, sir.
Will you sit here, Monsieur Madeleine? We will resume the trial.
Your Excellency the Judge. Your Honor, Monsieur Madeleine. Gentlemen of the jury. Who is this man? He is Jean Valjean, accused of one crime for which he is on trial, but he is wanted for another. Highway robbery committed for the gain of 1 penny from a small boy encountered on the fields outside of D. Convict this Jean Valjean, and he shall be tried again.
What does the man say for himself? May I question him?
Why, if it will interest you, Monsieur Madeleine, certainly.
Thank you. Monsieur Valjean, how long have you been a pruner?
His Honor is speaking to you, prisoner. Reply to him.
I don't know, monsieur. My name isn't Valjean. Look here, I'm telling the truth. You've only to ask if it isn't so. Ask how stupid I am. Ask if... I don't know what you want of me.
Officers, enforce order. I am about to pronounce sentence on this man.
One moment. Your Excellency. Your Excellency, may I be permitted a few words on behalf of the accused? I'd like to tell you about Jean Valjean.
Why, certainly, Monsieur Madeleine.
Excellency, they were right when they told you that Jean Valjean was an outlaw. It's true he was a galley slave. It's true he was a criminal. The pennies were stolen, and the loaf of bread, and the bishop was robbed. But mark you, gentlemen, the galleys make the galley slave. This man was a poor peasant, an idiot. He was changed in the galleys. He was stupid. He was made wicked. Saved later by indulgence and lost by pity. You won't understand this. There are some things which cannot be told. I cannot relate to you the story of Jean Valjean's life. Someday you will know it. He has done what he could. He has disguised himself under another name. He has desired to enter again. It seems this cannot be. Trial for you. I am
Jean Valjean concealing identity and changing it.
Guilty.
Put in the galleys under the double chain for the rest.
But Jean here. He was hunted. Years he lived in the shadows. It was no more than a step from the policeman. Small comfort now. Cosette was no more. She whose childhood was passed in his sight like a summer's day. Whose cares were his only care. Whose joys were his only joy. Who shared with him his only happiness in a long lifetime of misery. Who owned his heart and a whole lifetime of love. Her he had given up. Totally. He was wealthy. He relinquished wealth. He was free. He relinquished freedom. We have seen Jean Valjean give up the world to save a man from the galleys. The cost was not so great to him as this.
Jean Valjean, I have purchased your soul. I withdraw it from the spirit of perversity, and I give it to Almighty God.
We have seen many things happen to Jean Valjean of which Marius and even Cosette never learned. We have seen crimes which Marius judged without knowing, and more than that, we have beheld the resurrection and transfiguration of a human soul. We know the story without retelling it of Cosette's mother, the unhappy Fantine, and of Jean Valjean's promise to her as she died. We have seen Jean Valjean's Fauchelevent, the father of Cosette, and we have seen him at the barricades, saving Marius from the insurrection, so that Marius could take Cosette from him. We have seen him dragging Marius through the hideous muck of the Paris sewers and into safety. It is only important to remember here that Marius was unconscious, that Marius knew nothing of his rescue, and never dreamt that Jean Valjean, Monsieur Fauchelevent, was his savior. During the months which followed, Jean Valjean came no longer to the house where Marius Pontmercy lived with his wife Cosette in the Rue de Cablère. But shopkeepers in the neighborhood noticed that every day, dressed in black, when they were between him and this street, appeared to attract him. So slow times it appeared, and when he reached the street, stopped, trembled, head with a kind of gloom corner of the house, the street. Looked something resembled a forbidden paradise. He remained thus a few minutes. He had been stoned. The old man ceased to go, and he did not appear. Was very ill.
Come in.
Father.
Cosette. Cosette. Is it you, Cosette?
Father, where have you been? Why have you left us so long?
Oh. So you're here, Monsieur Marius. Do you forgive me?
Forgive you? He asked me to forgive him after what he has done for me.
Monsieur, I have done nothing for you.
Nothing? You saved my life.
You must be mistaken, monsieur.
I was mistaken, but not now. Perhaps you've forgotten a certain coachman. A coachman who drove you through the streets of Paris one night during the fighting. He has told me everything.
Marius, what do you mean?
But for your father, I wouldn't be alive today. My darling, he was the man. That barricade, the sewer, he went through it for me, for you, Cosette. He bore me through death in every form. Why have you not told it before?
I told the truth.
No, not the whole truth. I owe my life to you.
Father, your hands are colder. Are you suffering?
No, little Cosette. I am not suffering. On the contrary, my little one. I'm very well, only...
Only what, Father?
I shall die in a few minutes.
Father.
It is nothing to... It is frightful not to live.
Father, here, we will help you. Cosette, he must lie down.
Now, children, I want you to listen to me. This money belongs to you. I've written you a letter about it. 600,000 francs. Every penny earned honestly from the jet factory at Montreux. I shall have lost my life if you do not enjoy it. You see, the black jet comes from England, and the white jet comes from Norway. You understand then how much money can be made, and then the class must be bent, not soldered. It's all written out. There. Now come closer. Come closer, both of you. It's in the letter.
Father.
You'll weep for me a little. Not too much. You must amuse yourselves a great deal, my children. 12 dozen cost only 10 francs and sell for 16. And that's really a good business. And you can be rich without concern. You'll find my letter, Cosette. I've written it all down to you. And, Cosette, I bequeath the 2 candlesticks. There, on the mantel. They are silver, but to me they are gold. They are diamond. They were given me by the good Bishop of D. I wonder, will he be satisfied with me in heaven? I've done what I could.
Father, do you want a priest?
No, I have. Those silver candlesticks fell upon his white face, looked up, hands would kiss. Jean Valjean was dead. That night, starlit, very dark. It is certain that in that gloom, some mighty angel was standing with outstretched wings, awaiting this soul.
Jean Valjean, I have purchased your soul. I withdraw it from the spirit of perversity, and I give it to Almighty God.
WOR and the Mutual Network have brought you the 7th and final episode of Les Misérables. Orson Welles, distinguished young author, actor, and director, played the role of Jean Valjean and was also heard reading the narrative passages. Assisting Mr. Welles were Frank Readick as the bishop, William Johnstone as Marius, Virginia Wells as Cosette, and Ray Collins and Hiram Sherman. WOR and the Mutual Network have taken great pleasure in bringing to its listeners this unusual radio version of one of the world's great stories, the credit for which is due to everyone who participated in the production. This is the coast-to-coast network of the Mutual Broadcasting System.
Radio Gold is a 3 Nines Fine radio production. See you next time.